Be better off under a weak GOP? That's the question we attempt to answer in tonight's preamble. There is little doubt that the Democrats' pivot to anti-American socialism has been catastrophic for our country. The Democrats' priorities are centered around placating and enriching our enemies, importing foreign nationals who don't treasure our Constitution, and unleashing criminals into our communities to plague law-abiding American citizens. What's the GOP response been to this unprecedented attack on our nation? Well, nothing. In fact, the Republicans, under the command of Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy, have been content to garner support by saying, in essence, well, vote for us because we're not in charge. It's all Democrats' fault. Now, the sentiment is true, but lacking in any vision to improve our nation in the future, distant or future, or otherwise, or near future. Contrast the milquetoast and flaccid response from the GOP leadership today to the bold agenda put forth by conservatives back in the 1990s, the contract with America proposed by one of the great idea guys in the conservative movement, Newt Gingrich. Promised the American people that their lives would get better under conservative, constitutional, and free market ideas. And then the GOP went to work under a Democrat president to implement that vision. The result, more freedom, more prosperity and security for our people. Today, the leadership of the GOP has rejected strong and unapologetic policies consistent with our founding fathers' visions. No, instead, GOP grand poobahs are promising traditional Democrat policies if they get elected to the majority. Mitch McConnell pledging, quote, "Let me put it this way. Biden ran as a moderate. If I'm the majority leader in the Senate and Kevin McCarthy is the Speaker of the House, we'll make sure Joe Biden is a moderate," end quote. Shouldn't the alleged conservative party have their eyes on restoring our constitutional republic like Newt Gingrich did, even with a mentally compromised Democrat in the Oval Office? Should Mitch McConnell's goal be moderate Democrat policies? The McConnell agenda gets far scarier, my friends. His PAC just dropped $7 million on an ad campaign in Alaska to get Lisa Murkowski reelected to the Senate, giving a middle finger to the conservative candidate in the race, Kelly Tshibaka. You'll recall that Murkowski, who is basically a Democrat, was one of the three so-called Republicans who found a woman who couldn't define what a woman was as meeting the high standards for the Supreme Court. We won't get into Murkowski's apparent shared values with Justice KBJ going soft on child predators. More worrisome still, Mitch McConnell has given financial support to Liz Cheney. She was just honored with an award named after a Democrat for a profile in courage. Not to put too fine a point on this, friends, but what's so courageous about lying about former President Trump's involvement in the January 6th largely peaceful demonstration where a fraction of people committed criminal trespass and acts that would be seen at any given Black Lives Matter or Antifa riot? What's so courageous about conducting a vendetta against President Trump when the FBI found no evidence that Trump or any of his allies were directly involved with organizing the unacceptable violence during the Capitol riot? What's so courageous about voting to impeach Trump for the violence at the Capitol when evidence shows that instruments of violence like the pipe bombs at the Capitol were planted the day before President Trump's speech? Not to mention the fact that President Trump never called for violence.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
But it turns out that Republicans like Mitt Romney, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Liz Cheney, Adam Crying Kinzinger, and a host of others that seem to include Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and Leader Kevin McCarthy talk out of both sides of their mouths when it comes to their dedication to the constitutional conservative movement. In a new book called This Will Not Pass by Jonathan Martin and Alex Burns, both McCarthy and McConnell are alleged to have been saying one thing to GOP voters' faces and something else behind closed doors. McConnell allegedly told top advisors, quote, "The Democrats are going to take care of the SOB for us," after it became clear that Democrats were going to wrongly impeach President Trump in the House. On a conference call with top Republicans, Kevin McCarthy said Trump's conduct was, quote, "atrocious and totally wrong," and falsely blamed him for inciting the crowd. McCarthy also allegedly inquired about a mechanism for invoking the 25th Amendment before concluding that was not a viable option. In the interest of full disclosure, we, the Chris Salcedo Show, extended an invite to both Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell to talk to us about this rift between the establishment GOP and the conservative base. The Chris Salcedo Show thinks that the rift needs to be addressed and healed. We made this request in December. Here it is, the end of April. And we've not gotten so much as a no thank you. Though I did have a delightful conversation with one of Kevin McCarthy's staffers who pledged to take my idea to Leader McCarthy, and that's the last I heard. It appears that McCarthy and McConnell have little interest in mending fences with we conservatives. Their focus seems to be legitimizing the Democrat agenda by placing the GOP brand on it. I think the Republicans' conservative base should be leery of a party that has no interest in talking with conservatives, but is only interested in pleasing Democrats. The 2022 election is about more than which party bosses gets the nicer offices on Capitol Hill. The November election is about restoring a government of, by, and for the people. The leadership of both parties has no interest in advancing that goal. There's a battle going on right now in the Republican Party. On one side, the Trump faction dedicated to making the American people masters of their government again. The other side is dedicated to controlling government and you, but just doing it better than the Democrats do it. Will the GOP be a party that opposes the socialist cancer that has become the Democrat Party? Or will it go along to get along with Democrats' corrosive agenda? American states are still going through their primaries. My suggestion, if McConnell and McCarthy are backing candidates, vote for the conservative instead. And to Senator McConnell and Kevin McCarthy, my offer still stands. I still believe it will take the GOP unified with its conservative base, not ruling over it, to defeat the socialist onslaught unleashed by one-party Democrat rule in Washington. If I've misrepresented either of you or your motives in any way, you're welcome to come here and correct the record.